This journey begins with the Fool. The Fool is not about being careless. It represents the beginning of something new. It is the moment when curiosity is stronger than fear. Standing at the edge of a path, not fully knowing where it leads, but feeling the pull to step forward anyway. This stage of growth asks us to say yes to beginnings, even when we cannot see the whole staircase. It reminds us that growth starts with openness, awareness, and the willingness to learn as we go. From that first step, we move into the Magician. The Magician reminds us that we already have what we need. The tools may not be perfect, and the path may not be clear, but the ability to create is already present. This stage of the journey is about focus, intention, and action. Ideas become reality when we choose to move forward instead of waiting. It is the moment we decide to use what is already in front of us and take the first deliberate step toward change. Then comes the High Priestess. This phase is quieter. It invites us inward. Instead of pushing forward, we pause and listen. The High Priestess represents intuition, inner wisdom, and trusting what we sense even without proof. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes it happens in silence, reflection, and observation. This stage asks us to stop overthinking and allow understanding to rise naturally. Next, we enter the energy of the Empress. Here, growth begins to bloom. The Empress represents nurture, creativity, and abundance. This is the stage where we care for what we started. Whether it is a relationship, a project, or a healthier routine, consistency allows things to grow. The Empress reminds us that support is not weakness, it is nourishment. What we feed with attention and care begins to flourish. After nurturing comes structure, represented by the Emperor. The Emperor brings stability, leadership, and responsibility. Growth now requires boundaries and planning. It is no longer just about ideas. It is about building something solid. This stage asks us to take ownership, create systems, and move forward with calm confidence. Discipline becomes a form of self-respect. Then we encounter the Hierophant. This stage represents learning from tradition, mentors, and shared wisdom. Sometimes growth comes from following established paths before creating our own. The Hierophant invites us to ask deeper questions about beliefs and values. What do we truly believe? What teachings resonate with us? This phase helps us ground our journey in meaning. Next comes the Lovers. The Lovers represent alignment. This is not only about relationships, but about choices. Choices made from values rather than fear. This stage asks us to reflect on whether our decisions match who we want to become. It is about honesty, connection, and choosing authenticity over convenience. From alignment, we move into the Chariot. The Chariot represents momentum. Now that we have clarity, we begin to move forward with direction. This stage is about discipline, focus, and determination. Progress happens when we steer our energy intentionally. The Chariot reminds us to choose a destination and stay committed to the journey. Then we encounter strength. Strength is not forceful. It is calm courage. This stage of growth teaches patience, compassion, and resilience. It reminds us that true strength comes from consistency and kindness toward ourselves. Challenges are met not with aggression, but with steady confidence. Next comes the Hermit. The Hermit invites solitude and reflection. Growth sometimes requires stepping back from noise. This phase is about introspection, learning from experience, and finding personal truth. Turning inward allows clarity to emerge. Then comes the Wheel of Fortune. The wheel reminds us that life moves in cycles. Change arrives, often unexpectedly. This stage represents turning points, endings, and beginnings. Flexibility becomes essential. Instead of resisting change, we learn to move with it. Next is justice. Justice brings truth and accountability. Growth now involves responsibility for choices. This phase asks us to look honestly at actions and consequences. Balance and fairness guide decisions. Then we encounter the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man represents pause. Sometimes growth requires surrender. By shifting perspective, we gain clarity. This stage teaches patience and letting go of control. Next comes death. Death represents transformation. An ending clears space for a new beginning. This stage is about release. Letting go of what no longer serves us creates room for growth. Then we move into temperance. Temperance represents balance and healing. This phase encourages moderation, patience, and steady progress. Growth becomes harmonious. Next is the Devil. The Devil reveals limitations and attachments. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. This stage asks us to recognize what holds us back. Then comes the Tower. The Tower represents sudden change. Structures built on shaky foundations fall. Though uncomfortable, it creates space for truth and rebuilding. After the storm, we find the Star. The Star brings hope, healing, and renewal. This stage restores faith and encourages gentle forward movement. Next is the Moon. The Moon represents uncertainty and intuition. Growth here requires patience and trusting instincts while clarity unfolds. Then comes the Sun. The Sun represents joy, clarity, and success. This stage brings warmth, confidence, and celebration. Finally, we reach Judgment. Judgment represents awakening. Reflection leads to transformation. We recognize lessons, embrace growth, and step into a new version of ourselves. This journey reminds us that growth is not linear. It moves through beginnings, challenges, reflection, and renewal. Each stage builds upon the last, guiding us toward deeper awareness and understanding. Subscribe and follow for more insight.